You're watching Trade of the Week with me, Zinati Guma. Today, Unum Capital's Rob Pietropaolo joins us for a technical analysis on the dollar rand, the JSE Top40 and New Gold Platinum ETF. Thank you so much for your time, Rob. I'm sure you've never been more awake as you have been over the last, 2 weeks since Donald Trump's inauguration. And I'm sure you are not going to be sleeping for the next 4 years, especially when you are looking at the movements between the dollar and the rand. What is happening right now? Because we've seen a lot of selling of the rand and buying of the dollar.
Yeah, I think most of the noise has come through over the last couple of days, especially since Friday. So talk about not having sleep. There's been a lot of news flowing since Friday up until sort of last night before the US and after the US market closed. So it's been a bit choppy, but that's what we have. We're keeping an eye, a very close eye. Everyone's afraid of the effect of the new sort of Trump regime coming in and hurting emerging markets. So it's something to keep an eye on,
So is this backdrop really a political backdrop, or is it a political economy backdrop where a lot of political decisions then could lead to a kind of vulnerability when you look at the global economy?
Well, a lot of the policies that Donald Trump's trying to implement are viewed as inflationary. So now we've heard just in the last 24 hours how he has imposed tariffs on various countries and then pulled back again this morning. So to try and keep a head or a tail of that has been quite difficult, and the news flow just makes it impossible for us to know what's going to happen next. And I don't think Donald Trump, even though it's viewed as inflationary, all these policies and tariffs and trade wars and stuff, I don't think Donald Trump will purposefully want to go and hurt his consumer by pushing prices up too much. That would be a very, very dumb thing for him to do. So what needs to come out the wash still needs to be seen.
And that's the thing, because a lot of us have been questioning. I mean, he says he wants to protect the consumer, but some of his policy could actually end up hurting the very same people that he is trying to protect.
And let's not forget, a strong dollar hurts US exporters. So he's got to keep a wrap on that. And I don't think he's doing this purposefully to push prices up. Inflation is the economy's enemy.
All right. Okay, so it's going to be very, very interesting 4 years to see how his political decisions they affect the economy. What are you seeing there when it comes to the US ZAR on a technical level?
Well, as we started this conversation, there's been so much fundamental news flow and it's been choppy. So today I'd like to just present a few observations and levels that traders and investors just need to keep an eye out for and look out for. So when they arrive, you've got an idea of what may or may not happen. Because to make a call now is really dumb. And let's not forget that not trading is also trading. Sitting on your hands is sometimes not a bad thing.
Okay. All right. I hear that non-response is a response or non-reaction. Okay. So talk us through those charts.
Right, so we're taking a look at the weekly charts of the USD ZAR. You can see that we've had a nice little bump up, a rally in the dollar. And as I said earlier, a strong dollar hurts US exporters. The rand has been trying to cling on, but I think from an emerging markets point of view, the rand has been struggling to maintain any kind of strength and also a bit of uncertainty politically, locally, as well as economically. Some weak economic data also hurting the rand a little bit. But just some levels to look out for. And we see this chart every time I seem to come to the studio. We keep trading inside this window. Unfortunately now, with all the news flow happening, these levels are really, really important to look out for, because I do believe that dollar strength is still the flavor of the month. And that 1940 to 1950 level is so key for the rand. I think if the dollar continues to strengthen and it manages a weekly close above that 1940, then I think we're in trouble. What we'd like to see is sort of the rand finding resistance. The USDs are finding resistance at that 1940 level and staying within that channel and just maintaining a little bit of stability. If that's going to happen or not, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite scary. Look at 1940. Even now, we're dangerously knocking on that 19 rand level against the US dollar. And that's also not a picture that we'd like to see.
That's unfortunately the danger, because I think we're in danger here of hitting all-time lows against the US dollar.
Yes.
And that hurts a lot of things. And that causes inflationary pressure locally. So that's the level to look out for. I'd like to see the rand consolidate sort of just above that 50-day moving average. I think sort of the 18 rand to the dollar level is fair for the rand. I think the rand is undervalued at the moment.
Okay.
But as I said, with all this hype and noise and news flow going on at the moment, it's very difficult to call a level.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that we don't break that 1940 level.
Yeah.
And then I think at 1740, if we manage to get there, it might not be a bad time to take some money offshore. But if you just look down below at those momentum indicators, they are indicating that there's further weakness for the rand. The dollar will continue to rally. And like I said, we just hope that we don't breach that 1940 level, because then it gets complicated.
Yeah. 1740 is looking good considering where we could go. If things go wrong.
The only thing we have to fight here is volatility. That's why I said sometimes not trading is trading, just to see where we end up. Those are key levels for the rand, and a breach of either of those two levels will obviously produce different opportunities.
Yeah. All right. Well, another thing that the rand affects is obviously our very own JSE companies. I'm sure if we get to an inflationary environment, then we're looking at maybe a more difficult environment for the South African Reserve Bank, where, of course, we just had another interest rate cut, and we're hoping that we will continue to see more. But, of course, that still needs to be worked out, looking at the inflation picture. But looking at the JSE Top 40, I know also that there have been a lot of movements there, with also some of our commodity counters seeing pain and falling off the JSE Top 40. How's our market looking at this point?
Well, the flavor of the day again, if you just look at this Top 40 chart, just on the daily basis, volatility again has been the name of the game. And I think the Top 40 in general prefers a weaker rand, and you can see that from sort of the end of the year, December, January, the weakness of the rand has helped prop the Top 40 up a little bit. But it really has been volatile. And yet another observation, we kind of see this sort of broadening pattern of volatility and sort of making lower highs now, which does scare me a little bit.
Okay.
It kind of suggests that the rand may be finding a little bit of strength as we go ahead, but you can see the indecision in this chart. We're not attempting those highs like the S&P 500 did, and then obviously we had a sell-off in the US markets on Friday, and then again it looked like it carried over last night.
Yes.
So
do those movements actually affect us, or are we just moving in our own rhythm?
Again, if we try and just stick to the technicals, this chart screams volatility. And trading inside volatility is fantastic if you're a day trader or a short-term trader and you're trading within those violent moves.
Yes.
What I don't like to see is this pattern normally produces a bit of weakness and lower highs and lower lows, which unfortunately is very difficult to trade in, and this has even been difficult for trend traders. If we just go to the potential scenario now, if we just look at those momentum indicators at the bottom, you can see the Top 40, without even attempting that previous high, is already completely overbought, suggesting that we might see some money coming off the table this week. And I do feel that might be the scenario. I'd like to see it test that 79,000 level so we can all get some money off the table. And then I think you need to sit on your hands and wait for that pullback to get back into the market, let new money come into the market. Again, a lot of our top 40 counters earn offshore revenue.
Yes.
So the top 40 volatility, if you're an investor, I'd really be looking to just cash out a little bit, sit on your hands, wait and see, because I don't think the noise coming out of the rest of the world, we know that Trump's going to slap some tariffs onto Europe.
Yes.
Some of our companies operate deeply into Europe.
Yeah.
So I'd be fearful. I don't think we're in a euphoria stage at the moment, so I'd be taking some money off the table, especially on those big top 40 counters.
And is China a worry there for the top 40 as well?
Look, I think China is a worry, but they've just put their own
Yeah.
tariffs on South African goods. So this is going to be a trade war that's going to stick around for a long time. And we've only just heard this news come out today. So to try and predict, and what we normally say as technical traders is trade what you see, not what you think. And we haven't seen anything transpire or how the market's going to react to it. So when that's the case and you're not sure of direction, it's best to sit on the sidelines until you have a better idea and all the news is now washed out and it's sort of in the price.
All right. Well, talking about price, we know the gold price has been one of a lot of conversations and a lot of portfolio allocations. But actually, we're not talking about gold here for the next one. It's a new gold platinum ETF, but it's platinum, right?
Yes, it's the platinum ETF, priced in rands. We can trade it on the JSE. So I just thought, I mean, you know, we always tend to look for opportunities, and I don't know if you've spotted the theme here. So we're looking at potentially a weaker rand to continue, the top 40 coming down, profit taking. So where the opportunities arise is probably still in the resources sector. They do prefer a weaker rand.
Okay.
I think the platinum story, we know platinum has been on the back foot for a very long time, and because this ETF is very much influenced on the exchange rate, the rand dollar, I do think there's potential here for sort of a medium-term investor to capitalize on sort of a resurgence, especially on platinum. We even saw yesterday with what's it called, the new car sales, sedans in the country, sales went up 10.5%. So there's a little bit of green shoots there, which we weren't expecting. And I think if there are going to be tariffs placed on Canada in the next sort of 30 days from Donald Trump, it makes South African platinum a lot more attractive to foreign investors. And I think this is an opportunity. But also from it, if you just keep it purely technical, it's not a pattern that I trade a lot, but it is generally a very successful one. It's a continuation pattern, which is known as a cup and handle. If you can just spot the little cup and the little handle on the side there. So generally, you have a broad-based sell-off with a rounding bottom and a recovery with a little bit of a sell-off and then a recovery. What we'd like to see now, especially on the price of platinum, this tracks the price of platinum in rands, as I said. I'd like to see it breach above that 175 rand level, and I think if we get a nice positive close about 175, 176, then there's definitely potential for it to go and hit that previous high of 188 before we saw the massive sell-off in platinum last year. And I think that occurred at about May, June.
Yeah.
So I like these continuation patterns. They have a very high success rate, and you are playing the slow game and you are playing into the weaker rand story. And I think platinum, it is time for platinum to turn. We can see the resurgence in our individual miners. I didn't go into the individual names today, but I think with further episodes to come, they are going to start showing some potential. And you can already see there is a slight switch into those resource commodity counters, and especially the platinum stocks. You can see them. They've been on the rise for the last sort of 3-4 days.
Yeah.
And I think if you just want exposure to the platinum sector, this ETF is nice and gentle, less volatility.
So is it more gentle than going into the individual miners?
Yes, very much so. A lot less volatile, and you're trading the price of platinum in rands versus the dollar. So the only volatility you're going to find is if there's big whipsaws in the rand, which I don't think we're going to see. It's going to be a gentle sell-off in the rand, I think, for the next few days, or at least week for that matter. And this would track the weakness of the rand, and I think there's a good 10 to 12% potential here to make profit on the price of platinum in rands if you don't want to go offshore.
So would this be, from a technical point of view, a calling of the bottom, or just for short-term trading and not necessarily calling off the bottom for the long term?
Look, I don't think we're off the bottom for the platinum price. So our exporters like the weaker rand.
Yeah.
And I think this plays very much, as I said, into that weaker rand versus the dollar theme. And you do have the platinum price, the PGMs, metals sort of ratcheting up nice and slowly. I think gold is way overbought. Expect a pullback there. And platinum is sort of the switch
Okay.
to move into the precious, well, the next precious metal, and I think platinum has got some way to go. I think we bounced nicely off the bottom. It's formed a base, and I think it's time for platinum to show its shine.
Okay.
As guys sort of take money off the table on gold. And like I said, you don't want to get stuck in the volatility of the individual miners. And this is just a smoother way of generating some returns and looking for opportunities in a market where there's so much uncertainty.
Yeah, it's been quite interesting. So just even on Stockwatch, as you're talking about gold, that people are just kind of taking some money off there. A lot of people have actually been asking if they should be shorting gold. So we're actually going to see how that performs, but quite interesting to see that we are starting to see some sort of upside on the platinum side, or rather PGM side. Thank you so much for your technical analysis today, Rob. Really appreciate it. That was Unum Capital's Rob Pietropaolo. And that's all for this week's segment, but do stay tuned for lots more coming up right here on Business Day TV.